woman should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own legitimate scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian asset. And they banked on the intel agencies working with her to perpetuate this lie, and it appears they were only too happy to assist.
What unfolds when a reputation for dominance, narrative control, and flawlessly staged rebuttals crashes into Megyn Kelly's icy, razor-sharp precision? Complete ignition. Hillary Clinton, armed with decades of political shielding, but Megyn arrived wielding truth as exact as a surgical blade, and with that tore through every illusion. No kindness, no fillers, just a relentless dismantling of the legend, live and unfiltered. This wasn't merely a takedown, it was a moment of reckoning. And Hillary never anticipated the spotlight turning on her that quickly.
We now know how Russiagate got started, and we know that it was all a lie started by the Hillary Clinton campaign. That the Hillary Clinton campaign realized she was in trouble because of her email scandal, which had broken in 2015 in the wake of Benghazi. We found these emails of hers that were weird, and people were like, what server was that on, and so on. And it created a problem for her all the way up to
Hillary Clinton enters every public stage like a haunting echo of scandals long past, trailing a catalog of blunders that somehow still reeks of privilege. Megyn Kelly didn't just stroll into that wreckage, she arrived equipped with a spotlight, a bullhorn, and a flamethrower of biting sarcasm strong enough to melt the frost off Hillary's pre-rehearsed grins. Because by now, Hillary's not really a politician anymore, she's a political rerun, playing on loop in the background, still acting like she's the headline attraction.
A bit more of a description. Here's a part, I won't make you watch the whole, a part of the trailer for Gutsy.
Okay, here we go. We're hitting the road to shine a light on women who inspire us to be bolder and braver.
Leadership doesn't look one way. It's a giant rainbow.
You're not gonna break me down. You'll get worn out before I do.
Women who push us outside our comfort zone.
Megyn didn't have to dig far to spot the vulnerabilities. Hillary's track record is more like an open buffet of political missteps, served cold with a side of wiped emails and an extra drizzle of, "It wasn't my fault." Watching Hillary speak on leadership feels like watching a GPS frantically reroute after driving straight into a lake. And Megyn Kelly, she's the passenger in the back seat asking why anyone ever gave this driver a license to begin with.
Hillary Clinton is now pretending like she did not call Donald Trump an illegitimate president when he beat her in 2016. She's expressing her horror and how indignant she is over him challenging the 2020 election results. And okay, that's fine. You can say you don't like how Trump behaved after, whatever, his loss, January 6th, the whole bit. But you cannot, if you are Hillary Clinton, play the whatever challenge and election.
There's something almost comedic about how Hillary clutches at relevance. With all the grace of someone patching together a campaign using podcast cameos, campus speeches, and smug interviews held together with duct tape, Megyn didn't waste time on niceties. She simply struck a match to the illusion Hillary had curated and watched it collapse in real time. Hillary's idea of leadership is the kind that makes people long for the peace and quiet. She appears like a living reminder of every political blunder we were hoping had been shelved for good.
And you guys, but just for the record, let's play SOT 10.
I do think that he knows that he's an illegitimate president. I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did. And as I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
She doesn't campaign anymore, she just hangs around like one of those annoying pop-ups, asking if you'd like to subscribe to failure. And Megyn treated every second of that hovering presence like a live comedy bit waiting for the punchline. The Clinton Foundation, that's not a foundation, it's a tribute to lost chances. dressed up as do-gooder ambition, and every time Hillary talks about integrity, somewhere out there, irony slips on a banana peel and lands face first in a stack of classified documents.
And as she got closer to Election Day, she decided to concoct 2 lies about Donald Trump to distract from her email scandal. She got the Steele dossier through this Fusion GPS company that her campaign paid, and she got this group CrowdStrike, which was the one responsible for the hack into that. That's the one that said that the Russians hacked.
Megyn Kelly didn't have to embellish a thing. She simply held up the mirror, and the absurdity came tumbling out. Like a clown car packed with poor choices, Hillary's moral compass spins like a slot machine, and every time it stops, it lands on deflect. She's the kind who burns bridges and then lectures everyone about unity, all while cooling herself. With a speech titled "Why I Deserved the Win," Megyn just gestured toward the smoldering wreckage and asked, "How many times does history have to shout no thanks before you get it?" What makes it even more absurd is Hillary still believes she's feared, not respected. But feared, like she's some final boss in an outdated political video game. Except the cheat codes don't work, the graphics are glitching, and the soundtrack is just her blaming Russia, sexism, the weather, and gravity itself for losing. Megyn cut through that mess like a hot knife through butter-flavored spin. There's delusion, and then there's Hillary, a masterclass in personal branding minus the charm, but full of contradictions. Remember when she tried to pivot to relatable? As if throwing on a flannel shirt could erase decades of slick evasions and corporate smirks. Behind closed doors,
Hillary Clinton just weighed in publicly again on why she lost. And just in case you were thinking it was because she didn't go to Wisconsin, you are wrong. It is you, women of America. It is your fault. She now sits down for an interview and decides that the reason she didn't win is American females. That they didn't like that she wasn't.
Megyn Kelly made the whole spectacle feel like a late-night parody skit, written by a committee of out-of-touch interns. Hillary enters every interview like the universe owes her a thank you card, just for sharing the same timeline, and Megyn took that inflated ego and turned it into a papada, blindfolded, swinging hard, and shattered it wide open with wit sharper than anything buried inside Hillary's dusty policy binder. She speaks of transparency the way a magician talks about revealing secrets, with a wink and a hidden trapdoor. Megyn didn't blink. Every Hillary speech arrives with more footnotes than a tax return. And Megyn, she skimmed the cliff notes and laughed at the obvious. If there's any truth buried in there, it's locked behind a firewall, swaddled in red tape, and triple encrypted in layers of plausible deniability. Then there's the wreckage, a trail of political casualties. Staffers, donors, alliances, whole regions that voted once and then ghosted forever. Hillary treats support like a seasonal rental, and Megyn turned that flimsy lease into a punchline. Because nothing screams I care quite like raking into $150. Zero for bank speeches while tweeting about wage equality from the cabin of a Gulfstream.
Hillary Clinton decided to drop an op-ed in the New York Times today that's entitled, "How much dumber will this get?" And she uses Signalgate and the messaging by Pete Hegseth and Mike Walls and JD Vance and Tulsi and others on there as the jumping off point to talk about how dumb the Trump administration is. Some highlights. She calls the Trump...
And let's not ignore the constant shape shifting. One day, she's a progressive firebrand. The next, a practical centrist. Then suddenly, a feminist trailblazer. Quickly followed by a global affairs expert with the charisma of a frozen Excel sheet. Megyn Kelly didn't just roast that identity shuffle, she strapped it to a rocket and launched it into fantasy land, where Hillary's devoted base still thinks 2016 was just a clerical oversight. Hillary's campaign strategy? Reboot and rebrand again and again, except the product never evolves. And the tagline always reads like a weary footnote from history. Watching her deflect blame is like observing interpretive dance. In slow motion, equal parts confusing and choreographed. Megyn didn't interrupt. She simply let the show unfold and reviewed it with the delight of someone who's waited years for the final curtain. The moves are old, the rhythm tired, and the spotlight barely holding on. Megyn just held up a mirror and let the audience decide who really missed their cue. Hillary's connection to power resembles a child rattling an empty piggy bank, hoping for one last coin. Megyn didn't need to shove. The illusion of control was already teetering. For someone who brands herself as a unifier, Hillary has a remarkable gift for splitting the room. When she walks in, you can feel the shift, part confusion, part fatigue, and all performance. Megyn Kelly didn't just call it out, she brought a bullhorn to that awkward silence and made sure everyone heard the punchline.
Are gutsy. And in case you just need a little bit more of a description, here's a part, I won't make you watch the whole, a part of the trailer for Gutsy.
Okay, here we go. We're hitting the road to shine a light on women who inspire us to be bolder and braver.
Leadership doesn't look one way. It's a giant rainbow.
You're not gonna break
The real punchline, it's the obsession with legacy. Hillary wants to go down as the one who shattered glass ceilings. But all she's really done is sweep the shards into a corner and charge people to stand near them. Megyn didn't hesitate. She poked right through that delicate glass monument and uncovered nothing but recycled campaign slogans and outdated press releases. Hillary dreams of making history books, but what she's delivering is more like footnotes and the kind readers skip. And let's not kid ourselves into thinking she's above the chaos. She's knee-deep in it, tossing punches from the sidelines like a political commentator who forgot the playbook. Megyn spun that whole act into a highlight reel of blunders, every smug tweet, every canned speech, every grin after dodging another accountability question. It all lands like a sitcom with no laugh track, and there's Megyn Kelly, posted up on the couch, pointing out the plot holes with one eyebrow raised and a cold glass of facts in hand. Hillary keeps making appearances like she's the answer to a question nobody's asked since 2016. Her platform now feels built on passive-aggressive interviews and book tours that sell like decorative paperweights.
Let's talk politics for a minute. Hillary Clinton is back doing a late night tour. She spoke with Jimmy Fallon and she had some thoughts on this boiling down to Trump versus Biden again.
What do you say to voters who are upset that those are the two choices?
Get over yourself. Those are the two choices.
Yeah, I love that.
Right? And
good.
you know, it's kind of like one is old and effective and compassionate, has a heart, and really cares about people. And one is old and has been charged with 91.
Megyn Kelly didn't just dismantle the brand, she exposed the entire business model. Power built on nostalgia, strategy built on memory, and relevance maintained by sheer volume. Every time Hillary tries to spin a new narrative, Megyn's already flipping through receipts, reading the fine print aloud for everyone to hear. There's this myth that Hillary is above critique simply because she's been through so much. Sure, if so much means years of calculated ambition, carefully engineered image control, and a career spent dodging full accountability with Olympic-level precision, Megyn tore that illusion apart like it was printed on PR letterhead. She didn't mock the hardship, she mocked the spin. And there's a world of difference between resilience and rehearsed deflection. Hillary's been living in that second act. Long before smartphones had cameras, Megyn didn't need to assassinate character. Hillary already wrote the character, directed the play, and passed out the show programs herself. All Megyn did was point out the plot twist that never arrived. Watching Hillary repackage herself every few years feels like watching a rebooted series. Nobody asked for same dialogue, slightly darker lighting. Megyn pulled back the curtain, showed the production crew, and reminded everyone that if the ending never changes, maybe the story was never all that compelling in the first place.
Joe and Kamala can win by 3 million votes and still lose. Take it from me. So we need numbers overwhelming so Trump can't sneak or steal his way to victory.
Okay. So why can't a smart guy like Maher know that? I mean, he genuinely seemed surprised to hear this from me. He doesn't, I think it's just his true hatred.
And the irony, Hillary still acts like the mic is hers by default. She steps on stage with that throwback swagger, pitching policy proposals like they weren't already discarded seasons ago. Megyn Kelly didn't even need to debate. She simply walked in and revealed what happens when style tries to outlive substance. The crowds have moved on. The tune is out of key, and the applause, it's just a fading echo from campaigns that wrapped up a political lifetime ago. The roast isn't done. Hillary's still under the lights, trying to improvise a final act, but Megyn's already played the bloopers, rolled the behind-the-scenes footage, and caught the script supervisor facepalming in the shadows. And somewhere between the over-polished memoirs and the painfully staged photo ops, the truth becomes crystal clear. Hillary Clinton isn't the future. She's the setup to the punchline. And Megyn Kelly just gave us all front row seats. Hillary still enters rooms like the presidency was stolen by some twist of fate, as if destiny ghosted her, but Megyn didn't let that myth breathe. She crushed it with 10 years worth of reality checks and a walk-in closet full of unanswered questions. Hillary's greatest political skill has never been fixing scandals, just surviving them.
She created this entire storyline around the Russians doing these terrible things in tandem with Donald Trump in order to, yes, hurt Trump, but also mostly to distract from her own scandal. And we also know that Obama knew. He knew about it. He was told by his intelligence agencies in the late summer and fall of 2016 at the...
And Megyn didn't just revisit the scandals. She dusted them off, lit the fuse, and turned them into a full-blown fireworks show of political absurdity. There's no version of Hillary that hasn't been test-driven by a panel of consultants. Every haircut, every vocal cadence, every attempt at a quotable soundbite, all mass-produced, packaged, and launched like a product from a campaign showroom. But Megyn stripped all that away. Beneath the branding lies someone who's rewritten her own backstory more times than she's answered a direct question. And that's where the roast cut deepest right through the meticulously curated myth. Hillary's not feared anymore. She's studied, she's analyzed, she's parodied. And Megyn made it crystal clear. Whatever mystique she once had has long evaporated. Under the heat of too many reboots and too few truths, she's no phoenix. She's a rerun. And every time she rises, it's with less fire and more smoke. Machine, the political stage has moved on. New faces, new drama, new chaos. But there's Hillary, still trying to audition for a part that's already been cut from the script. Megyn didn't need to scream it. She calmly walked through the wreckage and pointed at the vacant spotlight, and that's the sting. Hillary crafted a legacy she can't outrun, a name that now echoes more like a punchline than a promise. In the end, Megyn didn't just dismantle the myth, she reminded everyone exactly why no one's lining up for the sequel.